America. We were living in the east by the Nile River, living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
Keep it cool, y'all. It's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Master Farad Muhammad said 6 words to us, and these were the 6 most powerful words that he spoke. He said, accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own. The Caucasians who brought our fathers into slavery desired to take us away from our own people, our own culture, our own religion, our own God, our own language. So we have grown up in America away from our own mind, away from our own selves, and so we have been actually indoctrinated with an alien mentality.
10,000 fearless men, because we're going to have to challenge the things that are destroying our community. So this ain't no punk time. This ain't no temple time, mosque time, or church time. All the singing and shouting and preaching is over. Get in them streets now, block by block. We're going to have to clean it up. The airwaves is not enough. The television screen is not enough. You got to put boots on the ground who are trained and are willing to make the sacrifice of life itself to see our community made a decent place to live.
Attention. Drill.
Soldiering is a part of the Nation of Islam, and it readies all of us to obey the commands of God. Now some will ask, well, why military drill? Because this is what produces the camaraderie.
Facebook and Instagram thought that they could ban the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
But in reality, they can't, because he already lives in us and millions of others.
قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
In the name of Allah, Master Fard Muhammad, the one true and living God, to whom praise is due forever, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger. Peace, family, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. WHID-FM is your personal platform where those of us striving to follow the life-giving, life-saving teachings of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as given to us by his premier pupil, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, gather right here in this virtual meeting place to answer that most critical question: what has Islam done for me? Tonight it is Sunday, August 16th, 2026, and at this time, we're going to turn it over to our dynamic co-host of WHID-FM, who's our sister, Janine Muhammad, who is a superstar student here in the Ministry of Muhammad Mosque number 6, under the leadership of our beloved brother, student Imam Abdul Salam Muhammad. Sister Janine.
Assalamu alaikum, family, and thank you again for joining us for another wonderful episode of WHID-FM, where we hear the stories from our various guests about what Islam has done and continuing to do for them. Our guest tonight is no stranger to WHID-FM, Brother Student Minister Lyle Muhammad, who has served as an education and human development specialist for more than 20 years. With more than 35 years in transformative youth services and violence prevention programming through his entity, Black to Basic Incorporated, in 1989. In 1997, Mr. Muhammad established Respect for Life Educational Services Incorporated, reaching several thousand with national training initiatives designed to produce transformation in youth and adult populations. Mr. Muhammad has traveled internationally as a teacher, a trainer, consultant, and motivational speaker. He has appeared regularly on numerous television and radio programs. Most recently, Mr. Muhammad was selected to participate in the University of Chicago's first Community Violence Intervention Leadership Academy, sponsored by the Harris School of Public Safety. He was one of 31 participants, representing cities, including his opportunity with a White House graduation ceremony during the inaugural Gun Violence Prevention Week. Mr. Muhammad's experience in community-based violence prevention work includes work nationally with violent, often gang-affiliated, and formerly violent citizens seeking a lifestyle change from 1989 to present. Lead trainer and architect for the Community Redevelopment Agency, funded by Overtown Peacemakers Community Safety Project 2009, Miami Children's Initiative Peacemakers 2014 to 2016, Post-Arrest Diversion Specialist for Girl Power INC 2014 and 2015, and the extensive list continues to grow by the permission of Allah God. So we'd like to welcome him back on the show tonight. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Lyle.
Wa alaikum salam, my beloved sister Janine and family. Alhamdulillah.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know you're no stranger to this program, but what I really want to dive into is the work you do with our youth. In this day and time where it seems as though the focus is mostly on Black youth, the young girls and the young women, they're renaming them now YNs, and everybody want to be a city girl and all that madness. Can you tell us how important it is to have programs for our youth in this day and time where all you see on the media is just attack on Black youth?
Praise be to Allah, Sister Janine, for the question. And I have to humbly thank every single one of you who has anything to do with propagating the faith of Islam through this particular channel. And as you were asking me that question, Sister Janine, I had to reflect back on my life as a troubled young person. Mm-hmm. I didn't fall out of heaven like many of us. And with that being said, they were throwing me into the garbage can by the time I was 13, 14 years old. So I know firsthand what it feels like to be labeled one of those young people. And then Allah just saw to fit and mold your brother educationally, experience-wise, to be one. And also I have to say, through the divine womb of my mother and what God wanted me to be, into someone that had a heart a mind, and a way to reach our young people. And it's very important that, first of all, those of us who are on the sideline talking about our young people, because some of us so-called righteous folk, we're on the sideline talking about those very same young people. But sometimes you got to jump off the porch and you got to get in the mud and build proper relationships where they can learn real love and real respect. And they respond to that.
Praise be to Allah. Now, you actually spoke on something that, we've had some audience members and just people in general have this conversation. So I wanted to ask this question. So I don't know if it's just the time. I know it happened when I was younger, but you see a lot of, especially in Baltimore, a lot of carjackings, and they keep putting on social media these housing break-ins. And I don't know if it's just the light is being shined on it, or it has been done in this massive way. But what advice would you give people who are constantly seeing this, may have experienced someone being taken away from them, having being carjacked, having someone come in their home? Because, as a person, you may say, well, I work for this, so I see our young people, and how am I to respond to them when the aggression is coming to this way in that moment? How do you talk to our adults where we can bridge that gap to kind of, I guess, a balance between understanding where they're coming from, but not being a victim as
Yes,
well?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I'm glad you said that, because family is one of the hardest things for us to do as human beings is to overcome victimization. Whether it's personally being robbed or attacked or assaulted or even having lost loved ones before. The most important thing is that we have to see the setup for our young people right now. See, the reality is that going back to the murder of George Floyd and coming up to about the year 2023, 24, going into the beginning of 25, there were massive of organizations that were really not only reaching our youth, but decreasing violence in cities across the country. Baltimore, of course, is one of those cities. Miami, where I am, is also one of those cities. And then we saw those funds not just dry up, but be immediately snatched away. So when you had people making leeway, reaching the masses of our young people, not just telling them to put the guns down, not just telling them to stop the violence and conflict resolution, but causing human transformation in our young people, our cities were turning around. And when those funds dry up and those resources dry up, you see the groundswell again of the type of behavior that produces disobedient young people. And let's be real about it. If that behavior, family, is not checked in our homes and outside of our homes, then you need individuals who have a heart to stay in this war and this fight. But our young people are really being set up. Today's problem is not whether we have a solution or not. It's whether, first of all, those who know what needs to be done will choose this as a purpose and see what Allah wants to do at this time, but also that we get the resources to keep on doing the work that is transforming our so-called YNs into YGs.
That's right. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And my next question before I turn it over to Brother West, I want to give you this question because a cousin of mine is a principal. So I told her I would ask this question. So she's a principal. She goes to, well, she was an assistant principal, but now she's in a principal at one of, schools, of course, with our Black children. And she said, a lot of times what she struggles with is, she helps the children. She said, but when they call the parents, whether it's the parents, the guardian, the grandma, the auntie, or whoever is guardian of them at that time. And she said, when you call them in for a troubled child, when you often meet with the guardian, you see where the disconnect is, because a lot of times that behavior that's in the child is in the guardian. So what conversations can educators have, or what conversations have you had with the guardians of our young people to make sure that not only are we getting through our children, but we're trying to change the very environment that they're in to get through to their guardians as well, parents and guardians?
Praise be to God. First of all, don't lie to them. If they look crazy, let them know they look crazy. If they're acting crazy, let them know they're acting crazy. Now, you don't just come out and say it that way. But our people have been lied. Look, our people know they're crazy. They know they're disrespectful. They know they're off the chain, and they even know they're wrong when they're wrong. But do we know how to check them with love and guide them? You know, I remember being asked a question before during an interview about the public school system, and if I could change one thing and one thing only about public schools and education, what would it be? And I must tell you, what immediately came to my mind is mandatory parental training. We have too many institutions that are engaging our youth that have the ability to grab the attention of our parents in a proper training and classroom and teaching format. And it doesn't mean it have to be boring, but look, last time I checked, we need training bad. And so when you can get our people into those environments, and then sometimes the training has to be running on the fly. I would say this lastly to our educators: if you're not the one, make sure you hire the ones who speak the language of our people, the ones who may have used to been those very off the hook people. But it's something about them being able to see someone who speaks their language, who can come at them with love, still be stern and still be disciplined, but not let them off the hook about the reality that if we don't change some things, our children are going to die. I'll say this lastly. I sat in meetings with parents and school administrators and students and had to be perfectly frank that if this young person continues on this path, we're going to be planning a funeral. And so you have to offer them solutions as well. But you got to be real and you got to love our people.
Yes, sir. I love that answer, being real, because I feel like a lot of us, we tiptoe around issues instead of coming at it forward because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But I mean, sometimes we got to step on some toes.
That's right. They don't tiptoe with their madness, do they?
That's true. You're right. You're absolutely correct. And I know I said I was going to pass it to Brother West, but I have one more question that popped up to mind because I met with an educator, went to a PTA meeting. Just, my sisters couldn't make it. So I said, well, I'll just go to a PTA meeting for my nieces and nephews. And I was just trying to get an understanding of the school environment and just wanted to know what they learned. And one of the things that one of the teachers told me, she said, I'll be frank. She said, one of the things we're struggling with as teachers is them trying to force this sexual education on children. And she said it's a course that I had heard for the first time. I think she said wit and wisdom or wilt and wisdom, something like that. But it was focused on, the LGBT and trying to, you can change, yourself and trying to force this. And she said it's almost as if they forced them to teach it and they'll sit on the class to make them teach it. And they struggle with that. So how can we as a village make sure we protect our children? Because it's almost like the teachers are being forced to either teach it this way or you won't have a job. And then somebody else is going to come in and teach our children. So how can we battle this world of wickedness where they're trying to introduce sexuality of our children too young?
I'm glad you asked that question. And I want to say two things to it. Number one, those of us who let it get like that, it's our fault that it got like that, because we wouldn't take a stand on what we profess and what we believe in, number one. And number two, we have to understand that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a perfect example on how to love our people, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, but at the same time, not lose ourselves or compromise our faith as if it has to take a back seat. And so I'm one of those that's been in many of those rooms with that particular community. And I'll just give a little slight example. I remember some time, well, actually a long time ago, when people who used to wear dreads, obviously not me, but people who used to wear dreads, they weren't getting hired for certain jobs. They weren't getting hired to be police. They weren't getting hired to be teachers. And it was just known like that. But the brothers and sisters who chose to wear their hair like that, them not compromising it. Now every damn body wear dreads that got here. If you get my point, what I'm saying is
Right.
it didn't compromise, and now it's become a norm. We compromised. And there's just little subtle things that we buy into. You know, a lot of times in this world today, they make you, when you're in a meeting or sign a letter, they make you identify yourself or what you like to be called. How do they do it? His, him, her, their, whatever. I don't respond to that because it doesn't fit. I'm Brother Lyle Muhammad. That's who I am. You know, and that's who I identify with. And so again, the pushback is in the policy. The pushback is in the room where the laws and rules were wickedly allowed to be made that we now don't have a voice. I mean, think about it. It's one thing to say that you're against something, but it's another thing for you not to be for it and it negate your whole existence. I refuse, first of all, not to love my brothers and sisters, no matter what condition they've fallen into because of this world. And I also refuse to bend my morals when it comes from me recognizing what I believe in. And so I think the song says I found love on a two-way street. But those of us, for example, who don't believe that particular lifestyles are good for us, that the world has accepted, well, you keep living the example of your lifestyle, but you don't tolerate somebody dismissing, for example, the value of what we see in a male and a female relationship. We've allowed our stuff just to be dismissed.
Praise be to Allah. Good point. I appreciate that because a lot of parents out. You hear it on social media. You hear it just in general conversation, whether it's at work, school. Everyone seems to have this focus on, that, and it just boggles my mind how the enemy is just trying even more to push his agenda on us, and we seem to think because we are so scared in our work environment, whatever environment, to not seem to. I don't want to come off at a certain way, or I don't want people to look at me a certain way to say, well, I don't want to, step on anybody's toes and I'm just trying to love everybody. But we, like you said, we suppress our morals.
And do not step on the toes of truth. And we better be more afraid of a whooping for Allah for not standing up. And when I say that, I'm talking to my Christian brothers and sisters too, because nobody gets off the hook on this one. Every time I read a holy book, and it says something about what relationships and lifestyles should be and look like for our family. And then I see us getting quiet because the laws have changed. Well, some of those very same laws, family, that were enacted to kill us are still on the books. Do we support those? But the model, but I want to say this real quick. I think the biggest thing our people struggle with, Sister Janine, is the fact that we don't know how to love our people who are wrapped in sin. And we don't know how to do that. We attack the person and we don't know how to separate the two. And what I would suggest to us is to pick up that thing called a mirror. And we might sin less, but we're definitely not sinless. And let's remember what it takes for us to come and grow. And if we love ourselves, we should have love for people, but not love for certain things that we know are leading our society to hell on a rocket ship.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And at this time, I will turn it over to Brother West, who has some questions for you to ask. So, Brother West, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Lyle.
Wa alaikum salam, my good Brother West. Two of my favorite people so far, Sister Janine and Brother West. You two are great examples.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. It's great to see you also. And my first question for you, Sister Janine, she started us off pretty strong. Excuse me. I just wanted to ask you, in today's day and age, and I feel like you kind of covered this just a little bit, but how do you propose the benefits of becoming a registered FOI to the current generation of youth out there today?
Praise be to Allah. Our young people, more today than ever, they don't need a talking religion. They need a walking, living example of what those scriptures look like. Just like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called us to be walking Qurans. Trust me when I tell you, FOI, men who have chosen a lifestyle to serve God, his community, and his people. There's a light that comes just from that cannot be extinguished, nor can it be ignored by our young people. And so when we jump off the porch and get involved and build relationships with our young people, it's not about teaching and preaching Islam as much as it is about being the example of the morals of Islam and the morals of any righteous man in a society with children are under attack. And we got to give Gandhi credit. He's the first one that I know that said this particular quote, that we must be the change that we want to see in the world. So too often we try to force the words of our way of life down the throat of our people instead of getting involved and letting them see the example of it. Brother, if I got on a suit and bow tie, if I got on a sweatsuit, it's still something about the presence of an FOI. And let me say this too. FOI, don't you dare get discouraged because you think people just talk about you behind your back for bad? Oh no, let me tell you, I've been a fly on some of the walls in some of those rooms. People are enamored by the presence of the FOI, by the spirit, by his grace, by the cleanliness that we strive to portray. And they talk about it more behind closed doors than they let us know. But the answer is we have to keep being the example.
All praise is due to Allah, and I definitely agree with that perspective, because like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, we don't have to condemn a people. We just have to sit the clean glass in front of the dirty glass and let them make that decision. Praise be to Allah. So my next question for you, the marriages in the Nation of Islam, even though I'm not married, I've been blessed to witness wonderful believers that have been married.
You said you're not married yet? Is that what you said? You're not married yet? I ain't rushing.
No, sir. No, sir. But, I see brothers and sisters that have been married for 30 years, 20 years, decades, really. And I'm just wondering, as a brother that has been married himself for quite some time, how have the teachings really benefited your marriage and overall family life in general?
I'd have been dead 50 million times, dear brother, without Islam. And I'd have been dead from either suicide or either being killed by a wife or a spouse. It's something about the value of Islam that teaches us. When people take marriage vows and they say those words, it's something about Islam that's, number one, going to test those words, but it's going to give you the building blocks. See, when we talk about long suffering and patience and endurance, and we talk about communication and the things that make marriages work, those are the things that a lot of people don't get. We're taught that marriage is half our faith. So you can't separate marriage from our religion, from our way of life. And so I would say to my brothers and sisters, whether you are a struggling Muslim couple, whether you are a struggling Christian couple, whether you are a struggling couple with no identity whatsoever, that you claim, that you have to go into the classroom of God, or it's not going to last, And I got to tell you, dear brother, I don't care who we think we are. We're not enough on our own to sustain what Allah has brought together in terms of marriage. And, I know I have to thank my wife for putting up my foolishness for over 20 years. And I have to thank the community for putting up with my foolishness for even longer than that, because that's a marriage too. But the most important thing is using the tenets of what we've been taught in our religious training and our teaching, not just saying them, but actually using them. And let's be real. Any one of you out there who has been married for a number of years, daggone well, it's a struggle. Even when it looks good, it's ugly. But don't run from the ugliness and don't give up. I'm so proud of so many brothers and sisters I see, Brother West, who have married, and I've been divorced before, but have not given up on the institution of marriage. Don't blame a broken relationship where you didn't put those principles in place on the institution. and never, ever, 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 ever give up. And I'm going to tell you, you heard it from your brother himself. Look, you need marriage to bring out the God in you. So if you're not married, you walking around as a half God, and I want to see your whole self. But don't forget what we've been taught. And I must say this lastly, too. We have so many great, great, great examples. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah. May Allah be forever pleased with her soul. We could not ask for a better example of how to go through trials and tribulations and attacks and all manner of things and still be one ummah. It's just a beautiful thing.
All praises due to Allah. And I thank you for sharing that testimony for sure. My next question, before I continue on to Sister Louisa, she has some questions for you as well. I wanted to know, on the note that trials purify, we know that going through a trial leads to purification. If you can just describe a time where your faith was tested, and how you overcame it, and if you felt purified at the end of that trial.
That's a beautiful question.
Praise be to Allah.
I have to thank Allah again for the example of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I need to take a moment to say this as I answer that question, because Brother Lyle, by Allah's grace, is loved by many people in many different walks of life. And to my brothers and sisters who don't know the religious side of your brother, you need to understand that it is these teachings and this lifestyle. If you've ever received any benefit from me at all, you better give thanks and praise to Allah, because that's where it comes from. And so the minister's example of overcoming poverty while doing this work, I'm just flashing back, Brother West. I'm talking about while doing this work of resurrection, which I will never, ever, until I take that last, I will always be involved in the work of the resurrection of our people. And sometimes poverty will test you. And I'm talking about wanting for food while having a family. I'm talking about repo 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm talking about eviction 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And, and I hear the minister's story echoing in my mind over and over again about him and Mother Khadijah going through the market to pick up the fruits and vegetables that were left behind that were still salvageable. The minister talking about the holes in his shoes. And see, these are things I've walked right up in the line with the minister. And I remember him saying this, Wes, and this is what comes to my mind every time when I think about the trial of poverty while doing this work. The minister says, can't you be poor just a little bit longer? And every time I hear that, I have to rationalize, well, I've been poor all my life, so what's going to mean to be poor a little bit longer? Because long suffering is real. And I know that this mission works. And lastly, when you see the light of transformation come on in our people, you know that what you're doing is working. And I'm not doing anything else once God has shown me the purpose that he has for me. And so, yeah, it's a struggle still today, but I don't think they're new struggles. They might be bigger, but they're not new. But trials do purify.
All praises due to Allah. I definitely agree with that. And with that, we'll turn it over to Sister Louisa for her questions, I believe.
Praise be to Allah.
Just we can't see you though if your camera isn't on yet.
She's on. Your mic is on.
Okay, we can see you. You just gotta unmute though.
Right.
Okay, can you hear me and see me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we can.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, my brother, sister.
So this is my first time meeting you, student minister, Brother Lyle, and
please just call me Brother Lyle. I don't want to get in trouble for no title or nothing. Just call me Brother Lyle.
Okay, I'm just trying to calm down because I'm just kind of really fired up. So I'm trying to ask questions and not preach. Lord have mercy. You set the tone, Brother Lyle. You set the tone. So I want to know, what is the crippling effect of fear of our people when we go and with this judgmental way of communicating with young people? What's the crippling effect of fear? Because I listened to you when you said they're praising the brothers behind closed doors. Is that attributed to fear? Because you could talk about the LGBTQ community in class, but you got to be behind closed doors to give praise to the God for the FOI. Could you speak to that?
You know, I think what I find, and this is, I'm just keeping it 100. This is from being in the alleys, being in the streets, being in the back of the taxis, being where our people be. The only thing that they fear about Islam is discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how many circles I've been in, where people say, yeah, I need to, I love that, but I couldn't do, or I can't do. So their fear is about the discipline. I mean, Allah makes us look so good. He can make it look like how we got like this, look like it's so easy. But it's the discipline that our people really run away from. It's not us. And as far as us as proselytizing Muslims, MGT and FOI, a lot of times our fear comes from not being able to just have proper dialogue and communication with our brothers and sisters. You know, now I wouldn't ask anybody who just stepped out the mud to get anywhere close to the shore of the mud. That's a little dangerous.
Right.
But
Yes,
you have
sir.
to understand that Allah has put in us a spirit of love that is irresistible to our people. And as long as we walk in that spirit, again, I would encourage the believers to go back and listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's message called Fear, Faith, and Truth. Any of you out here right now, if you have not heard that message from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it teaches you how to build your faith and how to challenge your fear. We have different fears. Some people, my sister, they fear public speaking in general. Yeah. And so, which is a natural thing. But we cannot, look, if you fear swimming and your baby's drowning, I bet some kind of way you're going to get in that water.
Yes, sir.
It's a certain love that produces it. And again, and being in the classroom of God, we keep working on ourselves. You know, we know that fear is a natural thing. So we're all experiencing it, but we must all challenge it and become students of why we're fearful. A lot of times we are afraid that people are going to reject us. So that's the fear of rejection. But remember, the spirit of Allah is irresistible. And so we should never feel ashamed about representing who we are and what we are and saying it. You know, I mean, hell, James Brown had to break a mold when he said, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. People were whispering it before James Brown. So I'm a Muslim and I'm proud. But may the light of Allah and his way shine through us so that the people recognize that we just got love for them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have another question. Thank you so much for your answer. When you were talking earlier about just the classroom, Sister Janine was asking you questions about the things that they're trying to force on us and our children. Would you say that there's a direct correlation to us being put out of their school system and getting our own and establishing our own? Could that be why the God is constantly allowing the crime, the shootings, the mistreatment, the abuse of children? Because have we not gotten the message yet to go in the direction of striving to get our own?
You know, as I go into that, because it's very important, and Baltimore is a very important city because of some examples that we've had, that first of all, the universe is our classroom. And we have to take the teachings and get out of the four walls of the mosque. Let me say that again. We have to take the teachings and get out of the four walls of the mosque, because that's what our classroom is. And so in an environment where all those things exist in a classroom, when Allah gives a city to the Nation of Islam, he doesn't just put a mosque in the city, he gives the city to the believers. And it's up to the believers really to take the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because when you see death, disease, and destruction all around you, and you have been taught antidote for death, disease, and destruction, then you're the one. You've been chosen by Allah, right, Muslims? And all of us who do this work. And so I say this in a short way, that I have had the honor and the privilege of firsthand seeing what it looks like when we have our own schools. Big brother Donald and big brother brother Al and sister Clarissa and sister Cynthia, when we get a chance to see in the environment that was built through the School of Original Thought, and to all those babies I had a chance to teach and train at the University of Islam in Washington, D.C., and all the babies I had a chance when we had the University of Islam here in Miami, you cannot deny the effect and the power of what happens when we have our own educational systems. So we must do both. For our babies, yeah, I think it goes mosque, school, business, you know, and if the order is not that particular order, then maybe we don't have the right priority on the value of independent education of our children. When I see these young babies that we raised up through the School of Original Thought, and these young babies that we raised up through the University of Islam that are now doctors and scientists and teachers and community leaders, and they have families and they're practicing Islam. So we keep running away from that reality of having our own educational systems while we go get the rest of the babies. Because we cannot save our own babies and forget about the rest of them that are trapped into the public food systems. Because all them babies belong to Allah.
That's right. That's right. All praise is due to Allah. My last comment / question: when you're resurrecting the dead, when you're going after our people, could you just testify to how high you really get when you watch your people or your fish transform and the light begins to shine? It just does something to you. Can you just, you got me fired up, so I'm just trying
Praise
to
be to Allah. I'll use an internal story and I'll use an external story.
Come on.
I'm gonna talk about one of Brother Donald's sons on this one here.
All right.
You know, matter of fact, one of the reasons why our beloved sister Cynthia and Brother Donald really invested into independent education is because the school system was about to kill their son. Let's just call it what it is. You know, that young striving brother who we know today as Brother Isaiah Muhammad, that beautiful young student minister, that beautiful first officer. And if he keeps on his path, a future captain somewhere in our nation or whatever he strives to do, that little boy used to be crazy as a little bedbug. That little boy used to be off the chain. I'm talking about at our own school, with our own teaching. But you talk about the light of transformation. I will never forget, I think Isaiah was entering maybe the 8th or the 9th grade. And it might have been something simple at first, like he turned in a particular homework assignment. Caught my attention, Isaiah. Wow. But then that consistency, it never left. Transformation's a beautiful thing to watch and see. We're all flowers and we bloom in different seasons. And sometimes as farmers, we give up too early to see that flower bloom. And if you choose a job that you love, you never have to work a day in your life. And when you see the light bulb come on in our young people's mind that I didn't know that, I understand that, I got that, I'm stronger, I want to study. They start asking for the books. They start asking for tapes and more conversation. That is just so rewarding. And I tell you, it brings me to tears. Whenever a brother and sister are lost found, who from whether it's off the street or out of the world, has had their life saved by these teachings, and Allah have to use your hand, an extension to Islam, it's a very, very humbling thing. but it lets you know that Islam works, but you got to work it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I wonder if I have time for just another comment or slight question. You know, when the minister talked about the brilliance of our children, the antiquated school system can keep up with that. So it's not that they're bad. You can't keep up with the brilliance of their mind, and neither can the parents. Okay, so for myself, having a son, studying how to give birth to a God, you asked me how to give birth to a God, but you didn't ask how to deal with that. With something else. You gave birth. Now, what do I do with this? You see, so could you speak to that a little bit?
You know, I think I thank Allah again, because I was kicked out of a whole state school system by the time I was 13. I couldn't go to any more schools in the state of Massachusetts because they said I was a problem child.
Yes.
I was a child with problems.
Right.
And I'm glad you dropped that. Look, How to Give Birth to a God, that series by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it should be law. It should be mandatory for anyone who plans on having a child or who has a child.
Yes, sir.
That is more than a lecture series. That is a way through, you know. And when I thank Allah for my mother, for, first of all, you know, just trying to make me be placed in the right environment so that her baby can stay alive and that he can still grow and not be killed by such a system that has no love for the brilliance of our children.
Yes,
you know,
come on.
I get called doctor more accidentally than most doctors get called on purpose.
All right, come on.
You know, so the one that they threw in the trash, there must have been some brilliance in him somewhere. And so our young people, you're right, they can't keep up and they get labeled as problem. So as educators, as real educators, we have to study human nature. We have to study the problems of this world. We can't just study our subject and think we're going to get over on our young people. And if you teach them in the right kind of way, a classroom should be an exciting environment. A classroom should be filled with examples of how to learn, whether you're learning with your hands, tactile, or you're visual with your eyes, or audio. We should be having a universal learning atmosphere. And children light up in that automatically. They really do.
Absolutely. Oh, this is so good. I could just go on and on, but I'm going to respect the time. But you know, when you talk about how to give birth to a God, I just think about knowing what to do with that. How to give birth to a God. When the child is born, what do you do with that? And the minister allowed, you don't ask children what they want to be. You look at what the world needs and give birth to it.
I think it's a combination of both, sister. Okay. You know, I love the fact, see, because one comes before the other. Because if you look at the world and you see what it needs, you already begin to plant the seeds for the birthing of that God. I'll use, for example, a non-Islamic example. A lot of people don't know that before Tiger Woods was born, that his father, Earl Woods, professed to himself that I'm going to have a son that's going to master the game of golf. This was before Tiger was even conceived. Now, there has to be some correlation drawn between a man saying out of his mouth, a black man.
Come on now.
In a white game, saying out of his mouth that I'm going to give birth to a child, of course, through his wife, that's going to master the game of golf. And then he went to work and became a student. So now, family, it gets a little complicated because now we're in the dad's mind. So as the dad's mind are concentrating on the child that he wants to produce, the sperm and DNA in the dad is being formed. And then when that sperm hits that egg and the light begins and conception begins, that God begins to be molded and fashioned into life. Now, I've been blessed by Allah to have 6 children. And I'll be the first one to tell you that you can't go in, you got to go in ascending order and not descending order to get the best parent. Because we all make mistakes as parents. I'm just saying, that's my fancy way of saying that. The youngest ones, they get the best dad. They get the best dad because we made all the mistakes on the older ones. So the younger ones get the benefit of those mistakes not being made on them. And I'll close that out by saying, I find that's parenting. And I have to be honest, I thank Allah, not for the career paths and what my children are choosing to do as much as that they're decent, moral, striving human beings. I can't ask for more than that. But I have noticed that parents, you have to be patient with the development of the God that's under your stewardship. You have to watch them. You have to study them. And you have to propel them in areas that are going to expose their godship. I have a daughter that just recently graduated from Howard University, and she's a marine biologist. And it was early on in her life that you saw the characteristics and traits and qualities. And so we gave her opportunities to explore that. My youngest child right now is a musical protege, both with the cello and her voice. So now she's in an atmosphere where those kind of gifts can be brought out and she can be molded. And so we got to, look, I got to give the white boy Kenny Rogers, I got to give him credit here. He's one of the greatest philosophers ever. When he gave that song, he said, you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away. You got to know when to run. And sometimes that's like playing jump rope with our children. But parents, don't you ever be afraid to come back and apologize when we've been out of order and out of step. We don't study our children like scientists enough to give them that kind of guidance.
That's right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
We thank Allah.
So
we
much.
Appreciate you and your
Thank
spirit,
you so much.
sister.
The tone, you set the tone, you turned it up. Sister Janine, back to you. I smell like
Thank you, Sister Louita. Thank you so much. And I want to go to a question that an audience member put in the chat, so we definitely don't want to forget. They said, Brother Lyle, please talk about the necessity of a high moral standard being at the root of successful education.
I think when I hear that question, my dear sister, that the highest moral standard that I can think of is love. Is love. And I also think it's the number one ingredient that is missing in the practice of what education is about. When you truly love who you're teaching, there's automatically a certain level of respect. And what does respect bring? It brings an intuition and a looking into, which brings another high form of moral camaraderie to the table, which means I see you and you see me. And so it is important. We cannot be the ones to be in front of our children in a decadent manner, but we have to be in front of our children where they see us living what we're teaching them. It doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that we have to be perfect human beings. At the very least, our students have to see us striving. And once we say and we accept one of the core moral high standards of our teachings that says that there are no big I's and no little U's, that's a moral standard. That's a moral standard. When the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that every human being deserves dignity and respect, that's morality. And all the other things. And then the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan constantly reminding us of the golden rules, family. You want for your brother and sister what you want for yourself. Do unto others as you want done unto you. Those moral standards, they even allow room for our mistakes, but they don't let our mistakes define us. So our students, they have to see us at the very least striving to live what we're teaching, and we're also able to admit when we make a mistake and we're off course. I guess we're talking about the principles of atonement now as well too. So again, that's another thing dropped into the classroom today. Study the 8 principles of atonement given to us from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan family. It could help us go a long way in putting up with ourselves and then those who we might consider enemies as well.
Praise be to Allah. Now I want to pivot to I don't want to say another scenario, but another part of our generation who may not be seen as troubled children, but now you have a lot of what they call a Gen Z going into the workplace, and they hate it. They say, "I don't like the traditional 9 to 5. It's not worth it." They see their parents struggling, and they say, "I don't know if I want this for myself." And of course, it makes me think us as a generation, we have not paved the way for our children, because I see young people now saying, I'd rather be YouTubers or I'd rather do something else. And I'm thinking, hey, work smart, not hard. But how do we balance that as adults? Because there's still a work ethic there, right? But I understand the children's visual as this world ain't it. I see y'all working 30, 40 years to get a wife, to get Social Security. I don't want no parts. And I understand it. Like, I really dig deep into the YouTube and what these children were saying, and I get it. I wholeheartedly get it. How do we get them to balance the work ethic, but still trying to find their path in a world where it seems to push you in one direction, go to school, get a job, but it's like, nah, I want to pivot somewhere else.
Praise be to Allah. Sister Janine, it all comes back to the same thing, and that's one, finding their purpose. My children used to get upset with me because we've had dishwashers in many places that we've lived. And I ain't let them use it to wash the dishes. Now, old folks, sometimes we get stuck in our way and we forget what the end goal is. The end goal is for the dishes to be clean so that we can use them to eat. And sometimes we can be old-fashioned and not realize that the same methods can be accomplished in the end, because technology is always changing. But the root, again, it goes back to finding one's purpose. And I'll say 2 quick things to that. Number one, I tell people all the time, do a homework assignment. Go out in the morning and study people going to work. Most people going to work are miserable.
Yep.
They're miserable going to work because they hate their job, because they're only working a job to get money. They're not working a job because they like it. They're not working a job because they like the people there. It's a means to get money, because somewhere along the way, their idea or their purpose was either crushed or undeveloped. So a lot of us are victims of that. And so I thank Allah for the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what we've been exposed to in the Nation of Islam. And so we picked up several things along the way. And our teachings, they tell us, family, that by the time a child is 6 years old, it should be clear to us as to what type of career path that child should be guided in. And I don't know what my child's going to do, but here's something I call a fistful of dollars. It's 5 things that as parents should be made mandatory for our children, and it becomes a more natural way for our children to find themselves in a proper career path. And so those 5 things that children should be exposed to mandatory. Number one, not in this order, but any order, as long as they get all 5. All children should learn how to speak another language other than the language that's spoken in their home. All children should learn how to do something with their hands. Sew, cook, clean, fix things, anything with their hands. Another thing, all children should learn some form of self-defense. Judo, boxing, karate, wrestling, some form of self-defense. All students should study some kind of musical instrument, or at the very least, voice. That's 4. And all students should play a sport. I don't care if it's golf, basketball, baseball, tennis, football, but it's something about those 5 areas of exposure that, number one, it allows children to go through life lessons, learn life skills, but also develop natural likes, natural dislikes. And on a course, trust me, if you institute that, and I know if it's too late for your babies, then get your grandbabies, but just don't keep messing up the soup. The bottom line is we have to see our young people earlier so that they don't become those disappointed people just working for a check, but they're working because they're living their purpose.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And well, I'm gonna go to my questions, but I don't want to miss our station ID, so I'm going to turn it over to Brother West, who's going to play out, who's going to get us started on our station ID, and then we will get back to our last few questions. So, Brother West, I'll turn it over to you for the station ID.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Family, we just want to remind you that you are listening to WHID-FM. What has Islam done for me? We want to thank you for tuning in, because without you, there is no WHID-FM. Your valuable time is really important to us. If you have any suggestions, please email us at WHID1919@gmail.com. And also, please subscribe to WHID-FM on YouTube and follow us on Facebook if you haven't already. And next week, our guests will be, inshallah, Brother Ramel from Muhammad Mosque number 7 in New York, and Brother Jair from our headquarters mosque number 2 in Chicago. And family, we will be right back after these messages.
Everybody join in this melody. That's the only way we're gonna be free. Everybody singing this sweet refrain. Sing this melody till it gets in your brain. Well, I'm talking to you, Muslim, Christian, and the Hebrew. Anything to do, we got to unite, or else we are through. Everybody singing.
Assalamu alaikum. This is your brother Lyle Muhammad, the owner of Supreme Styles Collections, an online haberdashery where we sell accessories, books, body butters, prayer rugs, even supplements. So we have what a man needs spiritually, physically, and mentally. And with our help in making our brothers into a well-made man and presentable to the community and world, just like you put a bow on top of a gift, you can purchase one of my bow ties and pocket squares handmade by me. They are the right size with the 2 dimples, the 3-inch clip, and a 12-inch matching handkerchief. So come on and start a new collection and check out our selection at SupremeStylesCollections.com. That's the new website. And also follow us on Facebook at Supreme Styles Collections. Also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Lyle Muhammad. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, for Brother West, for doing our station ID. I want to get back into our questions as we've reached the top of the hour. So I know we're going to begin winding on our questions, but this has been a really a blessing interview, because I know it's questions that we have. You know, as a people, we're still learning. We're trying to grow as a people, trying to, you know, figure out how we can do to make our communities a decent and safe place to live, as Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has told us. So in a world where we have women and men working multiple jobs, nowadays one income just not cutting it. So you have so many parents and just people, period, working 2-3 jobs, trying to make ends meet. How do we start with the balance of trying to make the ends meet, but making sure we're not neglecting our children, where we're giving our children over to a system when we're trying to survive, but it's something got to give for those parents who feel like, I'm a single mom, or I have a whole family and everybody's working and then we just struggling. So can you give me advice on that?
Praise be to Allah. I appreciate that question, Sister Janine. And family, let's just keep it a buck, if we will.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary raising children. It's scary because once they're outside of your door, they're in a world exposed to so much of what you don't want your children to experience, but you can't hide them from it. You can't. And so it's that's fear. But it's okay, because again, if we challenge the fear, we'll begin to realize something. Now, I'll use a monetary example and then apply it to our children. A lot of people say that if you have the most money in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. A lot of people say if you have the most knowledge in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. What does that mean? It means that, if you want to be a millionaire and you're a thousandaire, you need to start hanging out with some millionaires. If you want to increase your knowledge and you're smarter than everybody around you, you got to start hanging around some smart people. What am I saying? We have to take a village approach to how we raise our children and what that village is going to look like after we realize that we cannot do it by ourselves. And once you recognize that that village is just as important as that smart circle or that money circle that you have, what after school program will you send your children to because you can't be there or neither one of the parents can be there? Matter of fact, what educational system you're going to take? What extracurricular activities? What is your home environment going to be set up like? How are you going to manage these things, even one with another? Because it's difficult, but you have to communicate ahead of time. And if you're struggling and you're single by yourself, you have to lean and build a righteous village. You cannot do it by yourself. Sister Janine, one of the biggest misnomers that I hate that we have adopted as a society is we call our single mothers, that's my mother and my father. Mm-hmm. No, that's not your mother and your father. That's your struggling mother without your father. Mm-hmm. And once we realize that she wasn't made to walk on one leg, she was made to walk on two, the goal becomes to restore the balance. But I know in my household, we got to have huddles, okay? Because every week it's even different because we want to get our children to the places and spaces where they're going to be safe as possible, but where they're going to be nurtured and groomed outside of our presence. So having real aunties and real uncles, whether they be biological or through our Muslim or religious families, we got to make sure that our children are in atmosphere where they're protected and they can still be grown and groomed.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful answer. And I'm going to turn it back over to Brother West. He has a couple more questions for you. So, Brother West, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am. There it is. Praise be to Allah. So, I just have a couple more questions as we begin to wind down right before we go to announcements. So, I'm curious, as the nation is preparing for a very, I would say, pivotal time with the minister, gearing up for his inevitable departure. What are your personal visions of what the hereafter would look like, what that would entail?
You just went deep sea fishing real quick on that one, huh, Wes? That's how y'all do it. So, number one, family, believers, this song comes to my mind right now. I think it was a Kool and the Gang song. It's called Cherish Today. Cherish the day, cherish the... We have to cherish the gift that Allah has put in the presence of our lives. And as we treasure the gift of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that he has put in our lives, For some of us, for 30, 40, 50 or more years, we've had the honor of having the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in our lives. And if you just heard the name Farrakhan for the first time tonight, and you go get baptized by any message that you choose, and you only have them for one more day, cherish the gift from God. When we cherish what Allah gives us, we protect what Allah has given us. And the value of it, it never leaves. And I must say, I am thankful to Allah for how he is preparing the believers for the departure of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You know Allah loves us when he gives us tests. The ascension of our beloved mother, Khadija Farrakhan Muhammad, is a test, of course, for our leader, but it's a test for us as a nation as well. And I'm just so blessed when I just, to have had personal experiences with Allah's most select, to have had personal experiences with Mother Khadija Farrakhan that I can reflect on and cherish. It holds me, but it holds me in place. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has clearly laid out the divine instruction leading up to and after his departure. And remember the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the teachings that the hereafter is now. So how we respect and respond now has a lot to do with after. I'm ready to work harder. I'm ready to get in where I fit in, and I'm ready to never let the legacy and the living life of our Christ and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan never die, because he will live and continue to live, not through us, but our example. It'll be like he's still here with us. And as we embrace those things, I just reflect when Mother Khadijah's passed, and it was just so humbling to be able to say. And I had a brother one time say that I've been in the nation for 40 years and I just got a chance to shake the minister's hand, but he was grateful for that. So as we cherish all of these stars that we have been blessed to be around and with, they have been deposited in us. And for those of us who will be here, it is our job and our duty to make sure that these teachings will also still be here.
All praises due to Allah. I was on mute. Praise be to Allah. So my last question for you as we begin to wind down, if you can just give a testimony to what Islam is doing for you currently, your life in general.
Wow, beloved. First of all, family, let me reiterate the fact to anyone who hears this today, tomorrow, or 1,000 years from now, if you ever got any benefit from this guy they call Brother Lyle Muhammad, you better thank Allah for bringing Islam into my life, because you wouldn't know this brother. This brother would be dead a long time ago without Islam being into my life. For those of you who marvel at what we're able to do with our young people and our youth, this brother has been developed, taught, trained, motivated, inspired by the greatest teachers in the world. You thank God that he put Islam in my life. And what Islam continues, Islam has given me children. Islam has given me a family. Islam has given me a wife who knows how to raise and rear children and put up with my madness at the same time too. Islam has given me a community of believers to go to war with against the unrighteous ways of this world. Islam dignifies. Islam has given me a stance to stand on and a leader that has taught me not to scratch when I don't itch, and not to bend over unless I'm picking something up off the floor. Family, Islam has given me an international space and place to work out in. And I'm just so humbled. I'm so honored. And I would say to all of you who are listening right now, if you are just locked into your closet or your box, whether you call yourself Christian or Jew or something other than a Muslim, you need to take a closer look at the Nation of Islam and what it has done to produce giants in this world and for our people. And I'm striving to walk into that same light. And I would be lying to you if I didn't say that I see how Islam in me has allowed me to become a great whatever you think I am. And so don't try to, they do with the messenger and the minister, they try to separate the message from the man. You can't do that with this brother, because this man wouldn't be the man he is without Islam, as taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and represented by the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Alhamdulillah.
All praises due to Allah. I thank you for sharing that wonderful testimony and answering our questions as well. With that, I'll turn it over to Sister Janine to take us into the next part of our program.
Thank you, Brother West. But before we go into our comments, because that was, a beautiful way you really close out this interview, can you let our audience know if they're in your area in Miami or any other place you service? How can they reach you if they're looking for your services for their youth, church, youth organization?
I'm glad you said that, Janine. Family, I'm going to just keep it real with you. If you are working with youth, whether they're the brightest of the brightest or you think they're the dullest of the dullest, you would do yourself a benefit to give them access to what Allah has put in your brother and to produce. If you already got him on a 10, he can help you get him to a 20. But we're in Miami, but we travel as well. We travel. We still train youth, people who work with our young people. You can find your brother here in Miami with the Circle of Brotherhood. If you go to www.circleofbrotherhoodmiami.org, you'll be able to get in touch with your brother that way, but you'll be able to also see some of the transformative work that we're doing on the ground in the community while we're here. We will also travel to you and help you set your youth in a direction that you may want them to go in, but you don't know how to do it. Well, praise be to Allah, and let me give a shout out again to my brother, Lyle Muhammad, who we've crisscrossed this country together, working with what they consider to be the worst of the worst youth, producing gold and diamonds and establishing culture in schools that had no culture and establishing order and discipline in youth programs where it didn't exist. So Brother Lyle Muhammad can be found in Miami with the Circle of Brotherhood. And if you ever come down here, you can't miss it. We got a 58,000 square foot facility that we work out in, and we got a big field that awaits this wide awake Muslim family.
Thank you, Brother Lyle. We appreciate you so much. And family, we know this is really the time to get our youth, because as Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, if you think you don't know what to do with these children, he said, turn them over to the Nation of Islam, and we know what to do with them. So we definitely appreciate you for coming on. You're always welcome. You're always a wonderful guest, giving us great insight. And family, before we close out, we just have a few announcements before we close out in our meeting today. If you enjoyed this interview, and I'm sure you have, you're welcome to join us to study with the Nation of Islam. You can go to www.noi.org/go study. We have weekly webcasts every Sunday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely join us and learn all about the Nation of Islam. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out to one of the mosques in your local cities. Final Call Radio, download it on all your devices. Take it with you on the go. Whether you're going to work, you're going to school, or you're just running some errands, it's better to have the truth in your ear 24/7 by our Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan than just having the music playing in your subconscious. The subconscious mind is so important for us as adults and children. So Final Call Radio, download it in your app. You can definitely play it in the background as well. Speaking of Final Call, the Final Call newspaper, you see the cover that's going going to come up on the screen. Support Black media. If you really want to know what's going on in this world, get your Final Call newspaper. You can get it from one of our brothers on the street. You can get it from one of our local mods. You can go online, finalcall.com. You can go to finalcall.com store. Definitely, and don't forget about our brothers and sisters that are behind bars, because as we know, they can lock them up physically, but they cannot lock up their mind. And one of our last announcements, do you want a book that greatly empowers your child and showcases their self-worth? Look no further than I Never Knew I'm All That, book 1. This book affirms our children's needs and gives them something positive they can read to affirm who they are. This book is written by our host, Brother Lyle Muhammad, illustrations by Sister Amina Lay. And also, if you're in the Richmond area, you can come visit the Richmond area to hear the local representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in Richmond, Virginia, Student Minister Tracy Muhammad at 801 Prince Hall Drive, Richmond, Virginia. You can give them a call at 1-800-450-7836. And here in Baltimore, if you're in the area, please feel free to visit us at 2801 North Dukeland Street. This coming Sunday, though, we're going to be at BCCC, where you'll be hearing from one of our great students and the minister, Brother Isaiah Muhammad, who's going to give us a powerful, powerful message to lead our children as they go back to school about the education paradigm for our children. So definitely join us there. So with that, family, I will turn it over to Sister Louita, who will give us our Eat Well, Be Well segment, and then Brother West will close us out in prayer. So Sister Louita, I will turn it over to you. You're on mute, Sister Louita.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Thank you for another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. I will be reading from How to Eat to Live, Book 2, Chapter 48, page 161, Best Preventative Against Death. It is possible for us to eat many things, and we can keep existing for a while, but if we would like to live as long as we can, we need the proper guidance and the way of teaching us the proper foods to eat to expand our life and keep it expanded. We are all very hesitant in refraining from eating food for any length of time. Why? It is because we are born eating all the food that we can get in our stomachs within one day. There's no regularity in this way of eating. We eat whenever we see some food. We are like pigs. The pigs eat all the time, so as long as he sees food, and we are like chickens and other fowl and animals that eat all the time. Eating like this keeps our stomachs churning to try to digest the food that we put in it and to pass the food through to our intestines. This will soon wear the digestive juices of our stomach out, and we will only live as long as the stomach is capable of digesting what we put in it. We suffer with all kinds of ailments of the body due to our ignorant way of eating. How many times have you heard people say, when offered food, do not wait until you're hungry. Eat before you get hungry. This is a dangerous thing to follow, eating before you get hungry. I have heard many people, and you heard them say that they are eating just because they have not eaten in such a length of time, or I missed my breakfast, or I missed my lunch. They are eating then not because they're hungry, but they are eating because of the time they had set for themselves to eat. When I defined the word preventative, I found it interesting because Brother Lyle does a lot of prevention work. Preventative means designed to keep something undesirable, such as illness, harm, or accidents from occurring. Preventive. Surah 2 of the Holy Quran, Al-Baqarah, the cow, Ayat 168, section 21 reads, prohibited foods. O man, eat the lawful and good things from what is in the earth and follow not the footsteps of the devil. Surely he is an open enemy to you. The God is not reactive. He is proactive, and he has given us information and guidance that can prevent us from illness and short lives and extend our lives as we practice how to eat to live, because unfortunately, we all know how to eat to die. Stay well. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Back to you, Brother West.
All praises due to Allah, family. And with that, we'll close out. But before we do, I want to leave you all with a quote from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He says, sorry, I have to find it. He said, God will ask you to sacrifice that which you love. And if you cannot do that, he cannot take you up to the next level. So I want to leave you all with that quote just to ponder on, and, you know, inshallah, it leads you to some type of understanding. And we want to thank you all once again for tuning in to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. With that, we're going to close on in prayer. Attention prayer. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, family.
This house is dedicated to knowledge and to the spreading of knowledge. Elijah Muhammad inspired new thought, new mind, new way of civilization among black people. But he wanted a house from which a light could be lifted up to give guidance to all who would be guided as this world begins to close down. This National Center for the re-education and retraining of the black man and woman, but for the totality of the human family of our planet. I named this mosque after the only woman that the Quran names a chapter after, the mother of Jesus, Maryam. All human beings need to be re-educated. That is the purpose of the National Center.